What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show with me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com. And today I am looking ahead to a doubleheader of Eastern European mixed martial arts this weekend as KSW 96 goes down on July 20th over in the Atlas Arena in Poland, and Oktagon 59 goes down over in the Aegon Arena. If you're a fan of Game of Thrones, you might like to name it that one. In Bratislava, Slovakia, on the same night, July 20th. So I was like, well, will I do one here and I'll favour one promotion, or will I stick them both together, talk about a few of the fights, and kind of maybe just run through the lineup more than anything else and give you kind of a clear look at who is fighting and what's going down, I suppose, on both cards. I would say they're very similar cards in terms of quality. If I was the big one, I would probably go with the Oktagon card. I think the main event, having gone back and watched it, this is a rematch in KSW. The KSW main event is probably the best fight, arguably, on both cards. But I think if you're talking about strength and depth, I think Oktagon is a little bit better. But there's a party for everyone here on the 20th. So let's get into it and let's run down through some of these fights. And the first one, I'm going to talk about KSW first, KSW 96, and the main event is for the middleweight championship between Paul Polak and Damian Janikowski, and this is a rematch of a fight they had in 2021, I believe it was, where Paul Polak actually got the win over Janikowski. Now, I went back and I watched that fight, and it was funny because I watched it and I was like, I thought Janikowski won that fight. I looked in the comment section and there was no one really giving out about it or anything, and now it's a while ago and I'm sure I watched it at the time, but I'm not sure I remembered much consternation or anything about it. Now, it was a close enough fight, but yeah, I thought Janikowski did enough. But having said that, as I said, a close fight, and we are having a rematch here, and I think it'll be an interesting one. Since then, Polak has really gone on, and gone to, I suppose, to the next level in his career. Won all these 4 fights since, beat Tom Breeze, Tommy Romanowski, Michael Maturla in there as well. Janikowski on the other side of it then, he has won 4 of his 5 fights, only losing to Tom Breeze. Both of them beat Kasek in there as well, and he beat Tommy Romanowski last time out, but that was back in December last year. So what is it, 7-8 month layoff here for him. For fight interesting though, Janikowski, look, he's one of those guys, you look at him and he's this big, muscular guy, maybe not as tall as Polak, but he, you would think he wouldn't maybe have the cardio to go 3 or 5 rounds, whatever it might be, or you would think he wouldn't be as nimble as maybe maybe a longer, more slimmed down guy because he's very muscular, but it's not at all the case, and it showed in that fight. He was really, really good. Now, 35 years of age, he has, aged 3 years since that, and is, a 35-year-old myself, or am I 36 now? I can't remember. It's tough now. Maybe I'm not keeping myself as well as him. Maybe, it'd be, it's, it'll be tough to do that again, but I believe if he comes out with a similar game plan in this fight, I think he could have similar results. Now, I do think, having watched some of the more recent Polak fights, even though he's very, very, experienced, 28 fights into his career, he's also 35 years of age. So obviously very even in terms of that. But I feel like he has gotten better, is maybe the wrong word. Better is the right word, but more like controlled, and his jab has become better, and I feel like he's more in control of his whole game than he ever was before. And I think that is the big difference between the last one and this one, and why, like, if we're picking Polak coming in here, he did win the first time, absolutely, but, as I said, I don't know, I thought it was, I lead Janikowski. That's probably the big turnaround between the last time and this one, like his level of control, his ability to win. Look, he's always won big fights, look at his record, but I think that might be just the little bit of difference between that one and the last one. Obviously, Polak has had that UFC stint as well. He fought Leon Edwards and Peter Sabata as well. And, you know, very good training with Adrian Bartosinski and others as well. And, you know, one of those lads where if his kickboxing can get going and he can get into his rhythm, he can very much beat anyone in the world. But Janikowski did a great job of not allowing that. And, you know, Pavlak loves to, as I said, control at the end of that jab. And control is a word. But Janikowski, I thought, took it away from him and looked very, very good in that fight. But, you know, and he didn't show any, apart from maybe was it the third round. You know, he competed in the 2012 Olympics in Greco-Roman wrestling. You know, he won the bronze medal, I think, as well. So, you know, he is, you know, add in a little bit of wrestling, I think it changes. Listen, people are giving out to me for not giving my picks, and I'm not sure if I'll give a pick for everyone here, but I'm going to pick Janikowski. I just think he won the first fight. I think he has the game to beat him. I think his striking was an issue the way he fought the first time. I think if he adds in a bit of wrestling, it could be a big issue as well. I do like Pavlak. I do think Pavlak has gotten better, but I don't know, maybe we see a bit of retribution here. Maybe we see a few rights wronged, and maybe he can win it here as well. The one thing I would say as well about this is how high quality it is. I spoke a lot over the last few weeks about the levels outside of the UFC. You know, myself and my guy, you know, Neil over in Severe May, we do a podcast called The Chase and Pack, and, you know, we did a special there last week, and we talked about the welterweights outside of the UFC, and, you know, I suppose how good they are, you could say. I think if you look at middleweights outside the UFC, now there are some good ones, you know, Belandi over in Cage Warriors, and obviously Johnny Eblin, and you know, a few, like Impa Kasanganay has obviously fought down there as well, and a few guys there as well. I think you look at these lads, and you look at 23, 4-1 for Pavlak, you look at that Janikowski 10-5, but, you know, that record is a better record than 10-5, and, you know, as I said, he's won, apart from the Pavlak and Breeze fights, he's won he's won 6 of his last 8. So it's a very, very, very high level fight. And sometimes I come on here and I do point that out, but maybe not enough. You know, and I do think the level of this fight is very, very high. I think a couple of the Oktagon fights are very high level as well. But if you're worried about that when you're tuning in here, I don't think it should be a worry, because this is a very, very good fight. Watch the last one. It's up on YouTube. It was a high level striking matchup, and just a last point, that the key, I think, in that matchup was Janikowski. He was really unimpressed by Pavlak, if you want to put it that way. He wasn't afraid of him. He was very happy to come inside, land these shots in the inside, but he also was good on the outside. Like, Pavlak is usually bigger and taller than most guys. You know, and he's, you know, being 6 foot in middleweight. Okay, he's not massive, but he wasn't that much taller than Janikowski, or longer. You know, maybe not tall, but long. It felt like Janikowski took that away for large periods of that fight. Now, I'm making out as if Janikowski destroyed him or something. That absolutely wasn't the case. You know, Pavlak landed his shots and was able to get on well. He's good in the clinch as well, in terms of, you know, landing shots in the clinch. Obviously, Janikowski's going to be excellent in the clinch, being a Greco-Roman medalist in the Olympics. But Pavlak held his own very much there. And yeah, I just, that inside game, that getting inside for Janikowski is massive. And I think if he can, you know, if he can have success there, I think he'll win the fight. So that's the pick. I'm going to go for Janikowski. The co-main event then is also a rematch. This one is up on UFC Fight Pass. It was on in Aries, and it's Alina Wozniak against Maria Silva, and the pick is going to be Maria Silva coming in here. She won the first one as well, so I'm going with the loser of the first one and the winner of the first one in these two. Very, very interesting first matchup. Very, very high level, and this was. Let me just check what year this fight happened. It happened in 2022. So, you know, they're both relatively young in their career. Wozniak 10 fights in their career. Silva only 11 fights into her career. So, you know, this was 4 or 5 fights ago for both of them. 4 fights actually ago for both of them. So, a very interesting fight. Wozniak, 31 years old, out of Poland. And also, before I go any further, shout out to my guy Sean Dinney, who always helps me out with the facts and figures and the pronunciations and everything for these big Eastern European cards. If you're not following him and reading his stuff, please do at Dinney Rants over on Twitter. But shout out to Sean, who always is a great help. But Wozniak, she has been around for a long time, fought many of the best. Silva, 28 years old, out of Brazil. She was on the Contender Series before, ended up losing that fight, but she is very good on the ground, as you can see by the last fight, but also good at, I think maybe an underrated striker. She has 3 knockouts in her 10 wins. Wozniak is only 2, and you look at her and you think she's more of the striker, and she is more of the striker. But the one big thing that stood out to me in that first matchup was how comfortable Silva was and how Wozniak was fighting. I wouldn't say she was uncomfortable, right, but she was more your straight up sort of how would you say it? She was Silva was fighting the fight, Wozniak was fighting the game plan. And she didn't do badly. She landed some good shots. The problem is Silva just kept getting underneath her for takedowns, for body locks. Even Wozniak tried to trip her at one stage, ended up on the bottom. Like Silva, and Wozniak almost choked her out actually at the end of the second round as well. So this was by no means one-sided or anything, but I just think, that was a big part of it as well. When Silva was able to defend that rear naked choke, get out of it, and then she did rear naked choke her. Yeah, she did. She ended up getting the rear naked choke herself in the third round. So I think that was a big elixir for her as well, to get through that, knowing she's a better defensive grappler as well as an offensive grappler. She almost submitted her in the first, I believe, and then, as I said, did submit her in the third. Look, if you're Wozniak, you got to keep this fight on the feet. You can't go for those trips or those takedowns anymore. You have to try to win it there. If you're Silva, as I said as well, I touched on it there, Silva is good on the feet as well. She can hit, and she did well at times. I'd be interested to see how much of an improvement she has had since then. She, as I said, she had that Contender Series fight. She's won twice in KSW since that. Whereas Wozniak, she fought Alexandra Toncheva, who's a very good fighter last time out. But she has lost again since that. So interesting to see how this one plays out. I'm obviously, as I said, I'm going to pick Silva coming into this one, and we'll see how it goes. I just think the wrestling's going to be too much, and I think she's going to be able to probably get on top again and probably land her shots when she needs to. Another fight then in the middleweight division, we have Radek Pazuski, who's 5-2, against Damian Humberger, who's 8-1. You probably heard me talking about both of these lads in the past, I suppose. Humberger lost a couple of fights ago against Mikhail Michalski, but came back and knocked out Adrian Dudek last time out, whereas Pazuski, as I said, 5-2, lost his last 2 to Romanovsky and Materla, but he's 31 years of age now, and he fights training out of Warsaw with the likes of Eric Washek. He coming back after injury now, and he was a very good kickboxer, obviously, explosive striker, and will be looking to get back after, obviously, that loss. Humberg, 28 years of age, coming out of the Czech Republic. He's a guy we talked about before, who is the soldier, and he had that big reception in one of his fights. He's a finisher, 7 of his fights win by knockout, 5 on the feet, 2 by ground and pound, and has been, I suppose, wrestling a lot recently. You would think that wrestling against the explosive striker might be enough. Humberg, a very good athlete as well. Again, I remember watching him, recently and thinking a bit green, but sometimes very green, I think, in fact. But when you're as tough as a guy like that, where you can pull guys to the ground, I believe, I think it was the Dudek fight. I thought Adrian Dudek would have enough for him, but he didn't in the end. And that's the type of guy that Humberger is. I think he'll pull through fights. So I think if I was to give the pick, I'll pick him in that one. Now, as I said, I don't know about giving picks for all of these, but we'll see how we go. Then the flyweight division, Carolina Oscar against Sandra Sukar, who's been fighting pretty regularly recently. Has Sukar at 4-1 now. She's had all those fights since 2023. Even without a KSW and got a fight. Whereas Carolina on the other side of it, 31 years of age, eight fights in her careers, at all her fights in KSW. But this, maybe you could call this a bit of a step up for Carolina, who's 31 years of age, as I said, training out of Warsaw as well. Grapple heavy, I suppose you would say. She's had 2 submissions. No knockouts in her career yet. She trains with Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who we know, and Karolina Wojciech, who's over in PFL at the moment. Whereas Sukar, she's had a 50-50, I suppose, run in the promotion at the moment. Good wrestler as well, good armbars and stuff like that. Not bad on the feet, but her defensive wrestling is an issue as well. KSW Paris, that showed up there. So, tough fight, 50-50 fight there on that one. Just run through last couple of fights then. We have Magic Keciosko, who's 9-3, against Ahmed Almadurnov. Magic, 31 years of age, trained out of Ankos MMA as well. He's had a load of fights in KSW. You probably remember his fight against Leo Brecht at the Coliseum. It was a fight of the year contender last year. Very, very exciting, very good kickboxing game, very big power as well. And then Ahmed at the other side of him, 29 years of age, out of Austria, from Austria, who trains out of Slovakia. A very good kickboxer as well. So that should be a very, very fun one. Got knocked out in his last fight, so maybe there's an issue there. Demi Bartholomew Copera, and you see that Copera, you always know he's going to be tough. He is 13-7, fighting David Shimkovsky, who's 10-1. Copera, as I said, very, very tough judo background. Has won his last 4 in a row, and he'll be looking to get some momentum now, go towards the title, I suppose. And then David on the other side of it, 28 years, out of Ankos as well. Moving up to lightweight after losing for the first time. Very, very good kickboxer as well, good body kicks and stuff like that. So there's that one. And in the heavyweight fight between Marek Samoshuk and Denis Gornicek, who's 5-1, 5-4. You know what's going to happen with the heavyweights. Are going to have a lot of banging here. Marek was fighting, as Shawnee was telling me, on the bare knuckle. But he's a very good wrestler as well. Very heavy on top and very good. Dennis is a former professional boxer. Likes to knock lads out, big power. And he's a couple of wins by submission as well, I believe. So very, very interesting there. And the last couple of fights, featherweight fight between Michael Domin, 6-3, and Asia Ramos, 8-1. Domin, 28 years old out of Poland, won 3 of his last 4, and then Ramos is an Ecuadorian 23-year-old, trains in Brazil. Got an armbar in I think 47 seconds in his debut. Very good submission. So, I think he'll be looking for that again here. In the lightweight bout between a couple of up-and-comers, Hugo Du and Nicole Bival. Hugo undefeated, as I said, 3-0, from France, but trains in Warsaw with Janikowski. He beat Costello Van Steenis in his KSW debut. So when that happens, that there's he's going to be absolutely not Costello Van Steenis, Gio Van Steenis, indeed. He's the brother of Costello Van Steenis, but he's a very, very good fighter. I remember watching that fight and being impressed by him. And his opponent, he's been in there with some good guys as well, Alhaji Dian. Looking forward to seeing how that fight goes. Bival, born in Belgium, very good guillotine, very good kickboxing game as well. So interesting one there. Right, let's move over here for the last few minutes and talk about Oktagon, because it's I suppose the Octagon, we're getting to the quarterfinals now of the lightweight tournament. We have Ronald Paradise, who held the belt against Daniel Torres, who we've known for a long time. Paradise, big finisher. Ronnie, as they call him, 27 years of age, with 14 finishes, but 11 knockouts as well. Won his last 5 in a row. Won a close split decision against Attila Kormaz last time out, but he's knocked out Ivan Bushinger, beat Andrew Fisher. The only loss in the last good few years is to Lucien Queta. And look, he lost to Ivan Bushinger before that, but as I said, went in and beat him again. And his only other loss in his career until, in the last 6 or 7 years, has been Matthias Legorski, who is in the PFL at the moment and is a very, very good fighter as well. Torres in it, the other side of it, I suppose his claim to fame is that win over Saladin Parnas in KSW. With the forearm striking, that tells you all you need to know about him. He has big power, and he's been in there with Boris Mankovsky and a lot of guys over in KSW, Max Koga and many as well. So that should be a fun matchup. Both well-rounded guys, but both going to bang on the feet as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. But I think that the standout for a lot of people here is probably the Lucien Queta Predrag Bogdanovic fight. I know going into the last fight, I picked Hafini Nafuka, who is a really top prospect, and I stand by that. I think he is a very good prospect. But Bogdanovic is, what is he, 16-1 now? But a very, very, very good fighter, and you have to be a very good fighter to beat a prospect like that. Like, his only loss is to Will Brooks over in Titan FC, and that was over the end of the 5th round in a fight that I suppose you'd want to have your wits about you in. But Bogdanovic, one of those guys, like, he's big, tall, and strong, but he's well able to win. A technical fight. 9 of his wins have been by decision. He's a lot of submissions in there as well, and he looked very good. Nafuka is just an unbelievable fighter, very good takedowns and all, and he wasn't able to get it going against Bogdanovic. And you would think it'd be interesting to see for Queta, who is more experienced now than Nafuka, no doubt about it. He's only lost, as I said, once in his career, but the wins he has, this is this is a massive fight as well, because there's so much on the line here, obviously, with the big tournament and all. But you look at even, he has a win over Paradise. I look for Paradise. If he wins, he could get another go at Queta. And that tends to happen in these tournaments as well, where rematches kind of emerge and things. But Queta's, he's just unbelievable. Big knockout artist, very well-rounded. But just some of the names that Queta has on his record are fantastic. Like Agi Sardari. I remember coming on here once and talking about him when he was Cage Warriors. I've been thinking, this guy's going to get into the UFC and he's going to get on a great run. Like, he's a very talented guy. It just, it hasn't worked out for him, I suppose, over the last while, but he's still very talented. Like Samuel Bark. Again, I remember he went into Cage Warriors, and, what he did over there was absolutely, absolutely unbelievable. Went in and knocked out Tobias Harila, who looked unbeatable at the time, and he's had a lot of fights since that, and for Queta to beat him says a lot. As I said, beat Paradise, beat Ivan Bushinger. There's a Karl Michalak even early in his career. There's a lot of really, really, really good wins on that record there, and I think I picked against Bogdanovic once, but I might be picking against him again here. I think Queta is that good. There's no doubt about it. He's a very, very, very a good fighter. The one or two of the other fights I want to touch on. I mentioned Ivan Bushinger a few times. He's fighting Lucas Rakovsky here. We all remember Bushinger, I suppose, from the big McGregor fight, but he's had 51 fights and won 42 of them. He's had a really good run, and some of the names he's fought, but he's beaten Ronald Paradise, who we mentioned, obviously, in the main event, beaten Abubakar Tunkara, who we've seen in Bellator and other places, and many people down through the years he's fought and beat them. Beat Mansour Barnaoui, and obviously it's 2012 now since he fought McGregor. He made his debut all the way back in 2008. So it's been a long road for Bushinger, but like he went on an unbelievable run, after that McGregor fight. He didn't lose again, I think, for 10 fights until 2016. And even then he lost a couple of fights, but, he went on another 5-fight win streak before that. He met Saladin Parnisa, won 4 of his 5 fights after that, has won 6 of his last 7. So this guy's by no means finished. And, people who watch the sport around Poland and that have seen a lot of Lucas Rosowski as well. He's fought in KSW for years and years and years. He's been in there with some good guys like Donovan Desme, Lucas Capera, Mads Burnell back in Cage Warriors. He's fought Saladin Parnas as well. And, he's come up short in a lot of them, but he's a dangerous guy. 8 finishes in his career. You'd have to fail. It's interesting for Bushinger. Where is he in his career now? A lot of submissions. Can he get Rukowski down and submit him? Like Rukowski has been submitted 5 times in his career. Maybe that's the way to go for Bushinger, but for me, it's hard to gauge 35-year-old against a 38-year-old, even though they both have been, fairly active. I don't know. I was going to pick Bushinger, but I'm gonna go Rajowski. I'll go Rajowski in that one. So yeah. One of the other standouts on this card is Peter Wawrinka against Andreas Michailidis. Obviously, you might know the name of the Spartan Michailidis. He was in the UFC not too long ago, and he could have been the one to derail the Alex Pereira bandwagon. He had him down. He almost submitted him in that fight back in 2021, but he didn't end up doing it in the end. But he's had a good enough run since. Obviously went out of the UFC, but has been in Oktagon, won 3 of his last 3 in a row, and then lost to Bojan Velicevic, but beat Louis Glissman, beat Grabinski, and beat Leandro Silva as well, who is a good fighter. So a lot of finishes on his record as well, well able to submit guys and well able to knock out guys. But Peter Wawrinka is one of those guys who I've seen an awful lot of over the last few years, between Oktagon and KSW and Babylon and everywhere. He's been fought Patrick Kienzl, obviously last time out, ended up losing that fight back in March, but he beat Vladislav Slepo before that. And again, another guy who's been in with a lot of very, very good guys down through the years. Well, still being 33 years of age, 18 fights into his career. I think maybe the difference in this could be the ability for Wawrinka to kind of move around and maybe stop a takedown and maybe get a takedown of his own. Yeah, I'd probably, Michailidis is a good fighter, 35 years of age now, but I'll go with I think, do you know what? If I was to give a bet in this one, I think there'll probably be a finish. So we'll go for the finish in that one. And that's a lot of I suppose the top stuff on this card. One other fight that I would look at, actually just before that one, we have 2-0 Radek Rusal against Marko Novak 4-1, Milan Datlinka 9-7 against Ojek Raska, and there's a women's flyweight fight as well between 2 new up-and-comers, Veronica Smolkova and Joanva Dukic. But Jonas Magard against Josh Hill is a very, very interesting fight. Magard 15-6, another guy who I've watched a lot of over the last few years, because a lot of his opponents kind of pop up. He fought Jack Cartwright, the former Cage Irish champion, fought Franz Malambo, obviously an Irishman who's been in the PFL, fought Liam Gittins, who's the champion over in Cage Warriors at the moment. So he's been in there with a lot of guys and, beat Liam Gittins, beat Jack Cartwright. Beating Jack Cartwright is an unbelievable win in my eyes. Like, Jack Cartwright is a very, very, very good fighter. And then Josh Hill, he's 37 years of age now, out of Canada, as we know. And, he's been around the block for a long, 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 long time. Was he in the Ultimate Fight? He was in Tough, years ago. He fought Paddy Houlihan in Tough, if memory serves me correctly. But look, he's been in there in World Series of Fighting against Marlon Moraes, and fought Marlon a couple of times. He's fought Taylor Lapilas, Jesse Arnett, Eric Perez, Rafian Stotts, Justin Scoggins, Kaz Bell. The list goes on and on and on. But you think at this stage of their career, I'd have to favour McGard. He's been very, very impressive. He's a few losses in there as well, no doubt about it. But he's very good submission game. He'll he's never been submitted, and he's very, very good on the ground. He's 4 submissions himself, but you'd never know how this one will go against McGard, who might be putting on a little bit of the pressure on him in that one. So yeah, that's definitely a standout fight for me in a good card. So yeah, overall these 2 cards, KSW and Oktagon, they always bring the fun. They always bring a bit of excitement, and definitely on July 20th. There'll be plenty to tune in and watch there. So I will leave it there. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.